Hi everyone, we are together again for a new video. This time we are dealing with English Proficiency Exam Reading Practice 1 for Upper Intermediate Group. You might want to take a look at the Repeat Group Careful Reading video if you haven't done so. Similar to that handout, we have proficiency style reading questions in this handout as well. Alright, let's briefly talk about what the first text says. It takes a detailed look at the silent era in movie making. It gives details about its stages and how it paved the way for films with sound. Of the first question then. This question asks which option is true. Those who watched the first video will remember that I used color coding to highlight important information from the text, not only to show the correct answer but also to eliminate the incorrect ones. Anyway, option A looks like it has the same information as the text. Even the adverbs match. Okay, look at here, we have although and we have even though here. However, it gives false information as it was impossible to produce films bearing sounds in the silent era. Okay, here it says there was no practical means for recording and playing back recording dialogue or music in sync with the reel of the film. The music in the sentence given here in color purple was played while the films were being shown in a cinema or theater. Alright, so A is off. Option B is also off as it was impossible to add music or sound to the reel of a film during or after the production. I showed it here already. It would be difficult to find option C without knowing some academic vocabulary though. Here, in option C, quite undeveloped matches with the word rudimentary, and detailed and complicated stand for elaborate. Okay, mark this color as it will be used to indicate the correct answer in this video. Sometimes I might also use it to show the correct information. Okay, the first question is a familiar type that you can see in materials like More to Read, but the second one here does not show up very frequently. The question asks why the writer has included a given sentence at the end of a paragraph. To be able to answer this type of questions, you should remember your writing education. The question may not always come from the first paragraph, which normally introduces the topic, so you should know how ideas are connected to each other. This one comes from the introductory paragraph, so the answer is kind of obvious. As you can guess from color coding now, the correct answer is A. The writer includes the last sentence in paragraph A in order to present the upcoming information in the text. You know, it's obvious here. The films of this era can quite logically be divided into three phases, so it is obvious from this sentence that the remaining of the text will talk about the primitive, the transitional, and the mature era of silent films. Okay, the sentence is there to present the following information. Option B is out because there is no description of events in the sentence. Alright, and C is also out as the sentence doesn't serve to summarize paragraph A. If you read the options carefully, this type of question shouldn't pose a big problem for you. Okay, the third question is an inference type question. These questions come with words like learn, understand, infer, conclude, or imply. When there is an inference type question, the information is in the text, but it is not obvious. You're supposed to take a careful look at the given sentences. In this particular question, knowledge of one vocabulary item is essential. If you don't know the meaning of the word respectively, your chances of answering this question will be slim. In the paragraph, there are three devices. Two of them were invented by Edison. They were kinetograph and kinetoscope. The other one is cinematograph, invented by Lumiere brothers. All the options are written based on Edison's inventions though. Anyway, option A is not correct, although the color is quite similar to the one I used in the correct answer. Seriously though, these two devices were not invented in different times, or the text does not provide that information. B is the correct answer, as it refers to the first sentence, where the word respectively is used to talk about the functions of these two devices invented by Thomas Edison. If we see the word respectively in a question or in a text, we should remember that the events take place in the given order. In this case, the first device, kinetograph, creates the film, while kinetoscope helps us view the created film. Option C would be correct if cinematograph were the subject. This is a technique used by people who prepare questions. Replace the subject and give the same information in the text to create an illusion that the option you have given is correct. No, it's not. Well then, moving on to question 4, we see a seemingly new but also a familiar one. This one asks us to find the most suitable sentence that completes the blank at the end of paragraph B. This is simple actually. If you remember the logical sequence exercises in More to Read, you will see what I mean. For those who are new to the concept, logical sequence is about finding the sentence and sometimes the phrase completing a given sentence or paragraph. You follow a logical order or sequence while doing this. For this question, looking at the last sentence before the blank will be enough. Also, you should check the first two or three sentences of the following paragraph. The last sentence gives information about the characteristics of films created by cinematograph. Option A is out because it introduces color process, which is not mentioned in the next paragraph. B is also out as it takes the focus from films to Lumiere brothers. Since it follows up the box phrases in the last sentence, C is the correct answer here. Okay, short everyday scenes, short and primitive, a single shot from a lone stationary viewpoint. Okay, question 5. In this question, we are supposed to make inferences from paragraph C, but here we eliminate the option that does not contain a possible inference from the paragraph. C, which of the following cannot be concluded from paragraph C? The correct answer will be the one that cannot be concluded, and the others are possible inferences. So this time, the possible inferences are given with the color that I normally use to give the correct answer. Okay, here. The answer here is B, and it can be seen from my elaborate guidance that texts were inserted into the body between the frames. Okay, here you see texts and you see creative intertitles. A and C are given in the text here. Okay, different types of movies, film topics expanded considerably from the earlier scenes of real life to include film adaptations of popular and classic literature and plays. The acting abilities of film artists improved. Actors developed their ability to convey ideas without words. Alright, the correct answer is B. Question 6 here follows a similar pattern with the previous question. But this one asks us to find the option that has incorrect information. In these questions, make sure that you have understood what is required of you. Underline the keyword and instruction in the question. If you cannot see the not in this question, you will give an incorrect answer in the worst case scenario. In the best scenario, you will have lost precious time. Anyway, back to the question. Here, the clue is Hollywood, so we can focus on the second half of the paragraph and save some time. The answer is obviously A, because the subject of any given option in this question will be Hollywood. But option A talks about Friends. The other options here give correct information about Hollywood. Alright, was a small town, sleepy town of Hollywood, took over the role of leader, had become the seat of the filmmaking industry. Coming to question 7, we see an inference yet again. This question also gives the clue jazz singer, which makes it easier for us to spot the correct answer. To eliminate option A, we need to know the meaning of the phrase passing fat. You might remember it from fad diets, which are popular only for a short time. Fad is similar in meaning to the word craze, which also means something that appeals exaggerated interest for a short time. So, option A is out since the last sentence of the paragraph makes it clear that films recorded with voice like jazz singer were not a passing fad. Option B gives incorrect information. Al Johnson was not a movie star, so B is out as well. Here you can see that C is the correct answer, was a turning point, and all the films produced in Hollywood studios were talking pictures. Okay, number 8 is the last question of this text, and it's a summary question. To answer this type of questions, you need to understand the longer sentence given here at the end of paragraph D. All right, it's almost 4 lines, and come up with a shorter version of it. It would be difficult to answer this question if we hadn't gone over the last sentence in the previous questions. I mean, when you consider a scenario you haven't read a long sentence like this one at the end of the text, it will take you some time to answer such a question. But we already know what the sentence is about from the 7th question. To answer this question, you should understand what the long options talk about. Obviously, you should know by now that color coding brings you to option A for the correct answer. The summary of the last sentence is this one, as indicated by the highlighted sections. Alright, converted to talking pictures relatively quickly, and the remaining studios converted to the exclusive production of talking films a year later. Remember, the silent era in movie making started at the end of the 19th century, around 1890s. So a year is a very quick time. Alright, options B and C focus on the future of film industry, and option C in particular would be a nice introduction sentence to another paragraph. Okay then, this is the end of text 1. You might want to pause the video to take a break or not. It's your call. Okay, text 2 has a more interesting subject, I guess. Let's take a look. The text is about a skeleton found in the Atacama Desert of northern Chile. Those who found it took it for an alien skeleton because it was around only 30 centimeters tall. The text goes on to explain what the skeleton is. Moving on to question 1, we see a new type. This type of question asks us to find the relation between two paragraphs, in this case A and B. To be able to give the correct answer to this type of questions, you have no other way but to understand the information in these paragraphs. Luckily, they are relatively short. Option A starts well, gives you the mummified skeleton, alright, mummified alien, but misses the main point in paragraph B, alright. It talks about a valuable collection. This is not the main point. Option B is connected to the last sentence of paragraph B with the phrase interesting and appealing, giving the meaning of intriguing. Okay, here interesting and appealing, and we have intriguing in its own way. But what is intriguing is the scientists' explanation. They do not find the skeleton intriguing. At least this is not mentioned in these two paragraphs. So B is out. Alright, you can guess now that C is the correct answer because it includes the correct connection. Alright, explains the incident starting the mummified alien rumor. The rumors began, mummified alien. And paragraph B suggests that the skeleton doesn't belong to a creature from another planet. Okay, presented a very different explanation for ETA, one without aliens. The second question asks us to make an inference from paragraph C. The clue is given in the question. But since this is a short paragraph, we end up reading all of it to find the answer. As far as inference questions are concerned, this one is simple. If you know the synonyms of a few words, the answer is at the end of the paragraph. A is the correct answer, as you can see the connection here. Okay, A tells DNA results showed she might have had a genetic disease that had not been recorded in humans before, a hereditary disorder, genetic disease, never before documented, recorded in humans. Okay. B is eliminated by the information she belonged to the local population, all right, a rare known species that was already extinct. She belonged to local population, so if it is local, it's not rare. And option C is also out as it gives details about the skeleton that are not presented in the text itself, all right, like resulting in enlarged ribs or thickened teeth. These details are not given in the text. A is the correct answer. The third question is also an inference, but this time we are required to take a look at paragraph E. No clue in the question. It means typically we go for keywords in the options and try to match them with their equivalents in the paragraph. Option A is out because the phrase entire is not supported by much of in the text. All right, here you see the entire genome and we have much of A tells genome. Okay. The owner of the skeleton was not unwilling or reluctant to cooperate, as you can see from the text, so B is incorrect. All right, owner agreed to X-ray images as well as bone marrow samples taken from the ribs and right humerus. For option C, I did some extra work and included a blue box connection between the phrases, in the end and eventually. Okay, consider yourself lucky. Alright, if I can stop bragging, I will explain why I included them. You see the phrase right away here, right? Okay, right away. If you stop reading the text there, you cannot find the answer, which is given here towards the end. So that's why you should follow the connection between in the end and eventually, and to make no mistake. Okay, in question 4, we are required to place the sentence given here. Let me read it. This is another clue that she is less than 500 years old in its proper place in the text. All right, might be here, here, or here. In this type of questions, we can follow a few different ways to find the correct place to put the sentence. And here one of them is the tense. The sentence here given to us is in simple present, like she is less than. The sentence in the text starting with however is also in simple present, all right? Are still large, as you can see. But tense alone may not be enough to find the answer in this type of questions. Thus, we should look for contextual clues like smaller or large, connected by the transition word however. Also, we have the word another here in the sentence given to us. It can go well with the connector besides in the text. In a nutshell, the sentence comes to replace the spade given in option B. All right, just like playing cards. Yet another inference question here. This time, the clue is given so we don't have to read through the long paragraph. The color codes show us the way here. But it will also be easy to answer this question without them. Just find the clue given in the question. The mutations in ATAL's DNA is the clue here. All right, here. This time the answer, A, is not crystal clear. The odd appearance in option A, here, odd, does not show up in the beginning or in the middle of the paragraph where the mutations are referred to. Okay, here mutations and mutations, but we don't see any word resembling odd. It comes towards the end, okay, here, bizarre. You should have enough vocabulary knowledge by now to match the words odd and bizarre. Option B is out as it says not new. All right, here is eliminated by are new to science. Okay, Option C is also out as it eliminates the skeleton connection, whereas it is clear from the text that skeleton and mutations are closely related. All right, here and here. Okay, we have a title question again. In general, the answer to this kind of questions shows itself in the first paragraph, but the organization of the text is such that the key information is dispersed through the first three short paragraphs in this text. Now that we are at the end of the reading text, I can give you the spoiler. Eta was not an alien, so A is out. C is also out as a humanoid and is not a mystery according to the text. There is one interesting detail in option B though. The use of quotation marks with the word alien is intentional here. Okay, see? The writer wants to say that the alien in question does not exist. It is a so-called alien. This type of quotation mark use will come handy in the future, I am sure. The correct answer is B. Alright then, the eagerly awaited end of the video has finally come. Here I'm going to cover 3 questions at one go, as they actually ask us to match statements with their owners. Here we have the statements in 7, 8 and 9. To do this, I have simply copied the parts of the text that include the statements. Here, the statements are here. The rest is easy. Only the person in option B, Gary P. Nolan, is missing among the excerpts below. The answers are A, C, and D. Okay, when you see this type of question in the proficiency exam, just match the owners of the statements. Here, Antonio and the statement, MacArthur and the statement, and Zink and the statement, and it will be easy to come up with the answers. Well then, we have reached the end of the second video on proficiency type reading questions. I hope these videos will help you understand the logic behind different questions. Take good care, everyone.